Hello and welcome to our Points of Light. Today's thought is connected to the Torah portion because this coming week we read about the Jewish holidays. And as I mentioned in a previous stream, that the idea of a holiday is called Moedim. It's God's time. It's sacred time. It's time that we bond with God. We become one with God. And we enter into this sacred time and space during the holiday. Today, I want to bring out another angle of the specialty of the holidays. The holidays, according to Jewish teachings, especially to the teachings of Hasidus and Kabbalah, are times when Chesed Hashem, the kindness and benevolence of God, shines forth in a very dominant and powerful way. And that's why the holidays happen to be on days when God gave us miracles, like the holiday of Passover, which was the great miracle of liberation from slavery, and the end of Pesach, which was the great liberation by crossing the Sea of Reeds. The upcoming major festival of Shavuot is the great kindness of God of giving us the Torah with the revelation that took place at Mount Sinai. And that idea of kindness is that there is indiscriminate, infinite flow of divine radiance that comes from above, from God to us, whether we are deserving of it or whether we're not deserving of it. And that's why holidays, Jewish holidays in general, especially the main festivals like Pesach and Shavuot and Sukkot and Simchas Torah, are days that there's a tremendous amount of joy and happiness. We feel higher, we feel holier, but our expression of in the celebration of these days is usually done with kindness. There's a lot of family time. In fact, the Talmud has a whole discussion in the Tractate of Beah in regards to the holidays that we have to split up our time between time that we're giving to God or dedicating to God, which means time that we spend in the synagogue, studying and praying, to the time that we spend at home with our families. And the verdict is that we have to spend equal amount of time with our family as we do with God. Similarly, on Shabbat, which is a day of spiritual rest and elevation, it's also family time. I remember in 1974, the Rebbe came up with a campaign, and he said that Friday night should turn into family time without any distractions. It's a time that you can have your children over. It's time you can have your teenagers over and bond without any distractions. This concept of family time needs to be understood. There's a fascinating statement from Maimonides in the Laws of Sukkah where he says that there's a higher level and an increased amount of joy that the Torah demands from us during these holidays, especially Sukkot, but it's true in all the holidays. And he says true joy is not by locking yourself up in your house and just sitting there with your family and your loved ones and celebrating and eating good food. That's not called joy. That's called selfishness. True joy is when you invite guests, especially poor people, to your table, and you show them kindness, and that is the ultimate cause for joy. And for that reason, Jews throughout the centuries made it a point that when it came for Shabbat dinner Friday night, and especially for the holidays like the Seder, Pesach, or any holiday meal, that they would always invite guests and friends, that they can all be together, because true joy is by showing kindness to others. And especially when you know that there's someone that doesn't have a place where to celebrate the holiday and you invite them to your table, that increases the joy as well. Not only the joy for God, but the joy for you as well. So one may ask, how do we accomplish it in our days when we are all abiding by the government's call of shelter in place or the stay-at-home edicts, that now it is too dangerous to invite guests and visitors to our home? But Judaism has thought about this many hundreds of years ago. And that is that in every community, they had a fund, which was a special fund to help the poor with their meals. It was a community fund, And before Pesach, it was called Moas Chitim or Kimcha de Piska, which meant food for wheat, food for matzah, or flour for the Pesach. But it was true in every holiday. The Rebbe reinstituted this in the 70s, and there's an organization actually in Brooklyn that operates that's called the Association to Bring Joy for Shabbat and the holidays. Now, we don't have necessarily a organization that's specifically meant to bring joy to families for Shabbat and the holidays. However, we do have the ability to support people in need, even if we can't invite them into our homes for the time period. And that is by supporting them. So for instance, if you know that there's a family that could use a meal, you can actually call Kosher Charlotte, or you can find a way how to get food delivered to them. If you want to do it anonymously, you can do it anonymously as well. So in times when we are in seclusion and we don't have the ability to invite people, we can still bring joy to other people by supporting them and making sure that they have what they need for the holidays. And sharing with other people, even if it's someone that's not in need, but you give them a surprise gift, that is a surprise gift of a meal, that is also showing a tremendous amount of kindness. Because ultimately, the kindness that we experience from God on the holidays needs to be mirrored in our own behavior towards each other. And when we show kindness to each other, it actually is a reflection of the kindness that God gives us. One other footnote to this whole discussion is that also in the 80s, the Rebbe came out with a suggestion and a campaign that every Jewish home should place a tzedakah box, a pushka, which pushka is the Yiddish word for a box, but a tzedakah box in their kitchen, and if they can, to affix it in a permanent place so that it's always there. So when you're in the kitchen preparing food for your meal, before you start cooking the food or before you start preparing the food, you put money into this pushka box. You put money into the tzedakah box. And then tzedakah is earmarked for those that are in need. So then you feel that when you're preparing for yourself, at the same time you're doing an act to help other people as well. And that gives us a humble feeling when we're enjoying the food that we have and the blessings that God has given us. So again, when we talk about the joy of the holiday, it's the kindness of God that God has shown us and the kindness that we can show each other. And let us hope that soon, even before the holiday of Shavuot, we'll be able to meet together and congregate together and celebrate together. And if not, soon after that, and ultimately that all of us should congregate together in the holy city of Yerushalayim with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu. Thank you very much.